Hello and thanks for stopping by. In episode 2 of the still to be named properly SendIt interview series, I got to chat to Ferdia Rogers of Ranelagh Ultimate. We discussed, among other things, his early start in Ultimate and his rise to the top of the European game, as well as the development of Ranelagh, his experiences playing in North America, and what are some of the lessons he's learned from the highs and lows of playing against top competition. Hope you enjoyed the second episode. Do let me know in the comments who you think I should chat to next. Cool, so I'm joined here by Ferdia Rogers of Ranelagh and various Irish teams over the past decade or so. Ferdia, welcome to the chat.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I'm sure it's a pretty busy week sandwiched between two international tournaments, so I appreciate you finding the time to chat to me. I guess let's start at the start. Tell viewers a bit about yourself. How long have you been playing Ultimate? Who have you played with? Who are you playing with now? And what inspired you to get started?
Okay, so I've been playing for 10 years, I believe. Started in 2012. I was pretty lucky in that there was a team in my school, Gonzaga, that was run by Mark Early, who is a Frisbee legend, certainly in our country.
Correct.
Probably well known abroad as well. So I started in school and was quickly picked up the sport, I guess. We were fortunate at that time as well. In 2012, the World Junior Ultimate Championships were being hosted in Dublin, and we were entering 2 under-17 Irish teams. So I tried out for the team. I was like 3 months too old, I think. So the second team that we entered was an ineligible team, with a few older lads on the squad. So I got chosen for that squad, and then that summer would have been my first proper Ultimate tournament. Yeah, it was good fun all around. One of the days there was a ridiculous storm.
Yeah.
When we were playing GB under 17, I think the game might have finished about 5-2, something like that.
That's wild.
So, yeah,
I've had that at uni, but never had it like an international tournament.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I think I seem to remember Josh Alcock was playing in that game actually.
Oh, was he?
So he might have fond memories of that sideways rain. You know,
or suppressed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So who are you playing with now?
Play with Ranelagh, the Irish team as well, although we're in an off year because there's no tournament on. But yeah, playing with Ranelagh. Joined them in 2014, so I think I had a under 17 run, an under 20 run, and then was selected for the follow-up under 20 team in 2014, and before joining Ranelagh that same year. And it's been an upward trajectory since then, really.
Nice. Yeah, can confirm. Yeah. Did you have much of a sporting background before Ultimate, or is that one of the first things you played?
I did, yeah. I was a very sporty kid for sure. I think the first sport that I kind of took up competitively was GAA, Gaelic football. Probably not well known to most people outside of Ireland, but very athletic sport and entertaining sport. I played that from about 5 to 10, but at 7 years old was when I discovered hurling, which is another Gaelic sport in Ireland. And
fastest field sport in the world, I'm told.
Absolutely, it's been described as a bunch of men killing each other with sticks. So yeah, incredible sport. Really beautiful game. Worth having a look up some YouTube videos of it if you've never seen. It involves all sorts of skills, and I think that really created the foundation for all of my sporting ability. The fact that you have to use your hands, feet, your head, running, jumping, all sorts of movement. It was brilliant. So I played that from about 7 to 14, and I was very competitive. I was on one of the strongest club teams in the country, Chemical Crokes.
Oh yeah, same as my dad. Didn't know you played Crokes. That's funny.
Yeah, Crokes is a great squad, huh?
Yeah.
And then when I moved to secondary school at 13, there was no hurling team in the school at the time. So the most popular sport then was rugby, which was where I kind of got converted in order to play with my school friends. But school team, I was playing rugby from 13 to, I want to say 16, 17 or so. And I ended up dropping hurling at that stage. Then by 16, so the way the rugby works in our secondary schools is there's 2 cycles. There's the Junior Cup and the Senior Cup. Junior Cup runs from 13 to 15. Senior Cup runs from 16 to 18. So by the time the junior cup cycle ended, I was 16 and was now supposed to be competing for a spot on senior teams. But I was a very small kid. And when you hit 16, 17 and so on, the lads are hitting growth spurts and putting on some serious kilos.
And they're hitting hard. Yes.
Oh, geez. It's
they
insane.
hit you hard.
So I was not really able to keep up with that level of physicality, certainly at my size. So I decided I'd have a look at some other opportunities, I suppose. And then the Frisbee team was there in school. So I decided to give that a whack. And first time I threw the Frisbee and had a fly, it was just incredible.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I really, really enjoyed that sport and picked it up quite quickly, I suppose. As it's quite a niche sport, the level of competitiveness was not the highest, we'd say. And given that I had quite an extensive sporting background already, it was pretty easy to pick it up quickly and rise to the top of the ranks. So, yeah, I was quite lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
But since then, been holding it dear to me ever since.
No, of course. So you're like one of the beneficiaries of, say, the under-17s program and then juniors. And you also played 23s in both London and in Perth. But in between those two events, so the 23s in London and then the 24s in Perth, you played on the Senior Worlds team in 2016 in London. So I guess you were sandwiching that event while it's still quite young. How did you find like jumping kind of between those different age categories and those brackets? Did you play a different role from team to team, or did you just go out irrespective of opponent and just play your game?
Yeah, so that was a really interesting period at that time. I think in 2015, I made the under-23 squad, was coached by Leo Yoshida, who was another one of my most influential coaches through my career. He came from Canada. I was playing for Team Fisher-Price, which was a mixed team. I think they got a silver medal in the World Championships or something.
Yeah.
So pretty well-established player and coach in the country. And for that team, I felt I had a bit of imposter syndrome the whole way through. I was selected. I thought I deserved to make the team, but I was pushed onto the O-line with the likes of Ben Noonan and Matthew Feely, who were already established players in the backfield.
Yeah.
Had an under-23 championship championship in Toronto under their belts already.
Mm-hmm.
So the confidence wasn't necessarily there. But then, devastating situation in the first game against Australia. I got taken out by a pretty hard hit, a dangerous play really by one of the players on the Australian team, and I tore a tendon in my shoulder, my ACJ, and that knocked me out for the rest of the tournament pretty much. Ended up making a cameo in a couple of games, was unable to lift my left arm and playing righty.
I knew that.
No,
That's
yeah,
wild.
It was devastating really.
Yeah.
I think at the time, when it first happened, I took it pretty hard. Obviously, I mean, I've been training the entire season to play at the highest level that I'd get the opportunity to, playing in a pretty significant role as well on the team, and then to have the tournament cut short in the first game was hard to take. But I made sure that I just put everything else I could in from the sideline for the rest of the tournament and so on. So then coming into the follow-up tournament in 2016, I'd recovered from the injury. And despite not being able to kind of show off my performances in 2015, I was coming back determined to not let something like that happen again and to prove my worth. I remember getting the call, and I was in UCD at the time, and Donald Murray, the coach, gave me a call and told me I was chosen for the team, and kept my cool on the call and all that. I was fine, I was delighted, and as soon as he hung up, I started breaking down into tears.
Mate.
Really big achievement for me personally. It was to be able to show that I can do it at the top level in the country. I was the youngest player selected for the team at the time.
What age were you at the time?
Let me think. 2016 would have been given the spot in. Did we get given our spots in 2016 or 2015? Was that 20 or 21? 20, right. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have turned 21 that year, so I was 20 years old when I got given the spot, and it was amazing. So then going into that tournament, it was a very different role from the 2015 role. So 2015, I was being put into a fairly significant role, and then obviously the tournament got cut short. But in 2016, I was very much knew I was maybe the last pick, the wild card pick on the team, and there was no real expectations for me to have to put the team on my back and carry them. So in that respect, I could play with a kind of free will and go out and express myself and do the best that I can. And the the leadership can decide whether that's something that they want or not. When we got to the tournament, then I was pretty happy with my performances. I'd say I probably exceeded most people's expectations given the amount of game time that I got. And I actually went through the whole tournament with 0 turnovers as a D-line handler up until my last touch of the tournament against New Zealand. I get the disc on enough line and pivot out for a backhand to the end zone, and I get Troy Stevenson's name. He's a fucking 6'5" monster.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He just fucking hand blocks me straight into the turf. Devastating.
That was a struggly game. I was chatting to Robbie about that one earlier on, actually, and
desperate game.
I think just like the day off and then a late start, and the pitch was essentially a mud patch, like shades of UCD outside of the gym sort of thing in the winter, like, and I just don't think any of us really performed. Like, that was a struggle.
Yeah, it was a real struggle, given the conditions for sure. But I think uncontrollables aside, because there were a lot that were not in our favor, I think in terms of the controllables, the togetherness of the team was not there. I think half the guys were probably pretty checked out at that stage. I mean, we'd had the storm the day before and our games cancelled or whatever. And I think mentally some people were just ready to be done. Whereas others were ready to go in and perform in that final game and take it all. And once you have that kind of clashing of headspaces, it's a recipe for failure, I guess.
Yeah, I remember before that game, I bit the head off Feely, and it probably wasn't his fault so much, but we were playing like a bit of mini or something like that, and he was joking around or something, and I was like, we're here to fucking play frisbee, like. And I think the thing that triggered that was more that before we started our warm-up, the coaches called us in and discussed the party plans, and then we talked about the game plan for the game, and I was like, bro, like, I can't believe we're doing that before World Championship game. Like, that's a epic gamer moment. That is shit. Like, like, what are we doing here? So you later took the 24s then to Perth, which was that your first captaincy role, which you shared with Dill?
So I think I was actually captain of the under-17, although it was a pretty thrown together squad. I was captain of my school team for 2 years, captain of the university team for a few years. But in terms of the Irish setups, that was my first proper national team captaincy. I felt pretty hard done by to knock with the captaincy and the under-20 level, I have to say. But yeah, under-24s, we got awarded the bid, and myself, Dill, and Feely were the 3 on the leadership panel, and we did an excellent job. I was very, very happy with the whole tour, to be honest. It was really, really great experience, and I know that most of the lads just enjoyed getting over to Australia as well, because that's not something that everyone gets to do in their life.
I was pretty jealous that we went to Australia. I know I went to Toronto, but Australia would be pretty sick. But yeah, so you did that. I guess, what do you take from that week in Perth, which like you still use in your leadership style now, or is like, I don't know, like, was there stuff that you learned from that campaign that you just kind of stick by?
Well, let me think. I think we probably could have done a better job of spreading the work and delegating a bit more. That was definitely something that we could have that I learned from, and involving, I suppose, more players on the team in the process, in the decisions. Just making it more of a democratic and flat hierarchy, we could say. In terms of actual tournament performances and preparation, those were some of the most adverse conditions that I'd ever had to deal with as a player. I mean, we're playing in 40-degree heat. It was incredible. There was one of the nights, actually, I'm going to tell a not so humble story, I guess. But I can't remember which night it was, maybe Monday night, or Monday during the day. I mean, we're Irish, we're stupid, we're not used to playing in that level of heat, so we all went and got our lunches. We got like chicken and stuff from the fridges, and we're making chicken sandwiches and putting it in our bags and all that jazz, and eating that at the fields. And Monday evening we have a game against GB the next morning, and I've got food poisoning. Like, naturally,
because you took chicken to the fucking pitch in 40 degrees. Like,
fucking heated chicken, exactly. So
recut naturally.
Man, it was disgusting. So I'm there up till in sweats, unable to sleep, shaking, feeling nauseous. And we have Dr. Stokes on the scene as well, and he's giving me a Motilium to try and stop the nausea and all that. And I think I was up till about 5 a.m. unable to sleep, and eventually I was like, fuck this, I'm going to go make myself get sick. And I did. I was getting sick for half an hour in the toilet, and it felt so much better after. Like, why didn't we do this hours ago?
You always do.
Like, could have been asleep by now. So yeah, then immediately get back into bed, get my few hours of sleep, and wake up the next morning like feeling like a shell of a man. But you know, we've got a big. This is the deciding
GB, man.
game,
It's GB.
I believe, against GB. Yeah, they were fourth seed or whatever. They were top seed.
Highly ranked.
And, highly ranked, and we had a big game to play, and dragged ourselves through, and it was pretty spectacular match, really. Quite back and forth, pretty upwind downwind. It was within 2 points the entire way, and last point of the game we're coming up for an upwind break, I believe, and we managed to get the disc outside the end zone, and Mark Doody throws this beautiful backhand around break to me to score the winning goal. And
big scenes.
Spectacular scene. I think Nathan Kalakovic got it on video as well, so it looks excellent in the slow-mo. So yeah, it was really great being able to come through that level of adversity and actually win the game. So I mean, takeaways then, learning from leadership experience was you need to do a much better job of preparing yourself and your players for the elements and the things that can go wrong. But as well then, as a player, I suppose it's never believing that you're out. You know, there's always a chance that you can win the game regardless of the situation. If you just keep fighting and pushing yourself, anything can happen. Anyone can win, and that's exactly what happened on that day. I mean, GB would have been coming into that as the strong favourites against us.
Yeah, for sure.
And given everything that happened as well, I mean, it's just more and more likely that they should have been. But yeah, it was a huge win for us and really sparked celebrations, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. No, you've reminded me, like this year at Tom's I went with Reading Open, and I hadn't played with a lot of the boys, but we got to the semi-finals, and you know, we were pretty chuffed with that. We had like 2 games the last day on the Sunday, and I said, you know what, we made the semis, like let's celebrate a few beers, and a few beers turned into more beers, and more beers turned into more beers, as they do. And I'd say we probably had a squad of like roughly 19-20 players, and like we had like a show of hands before the semi of like who threw up the night before, and I'd say like a third of the squad was like, I right here. And one of the lads text the team basically saying like, what time are we meeting? And Sam Mowat is a photographer with a show game, he was there, and he replied, he said, you're already 4-0 down. This is like, man, like like I don't know, it's just these I think some of these tournaments are brilliant, like where you like, you know, you can have the same kind of adversity from self-imposed, like, you know, chicken and food poisoning and 40 degrees at a world championship, or you can just hit the pints at Tom's. So I'll make sure all the lads watch this, they can learn about your adversity.
yeah, totally on par.
Yeah. So moving past kind of the earlier days, and then I guess like your international experience, moving towards club. So did you play much club before getting into Ranelagh, or did you just like straight in there, straight to the top?
I played either 1 or 2 national All-Ireland tournaments with D-Rest, who were a pick-up team, really, just made up of Irish players who didn't have a club team. So you could count that, but I never had any club training or experience under my belt. I had gone to the Ranelagh trials in 2013 and didn't make the team, and then was asked back the following year and managed to make the team. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it's true, but I may have been, myself and Brian Connolly may have been the first school children that were selected to Ranelagh. Maybe
I think
Alf
that's right.
School.
Yeah, maybe
right?
Maybe Alf.
Alf might have been in school when he was selected. I'm not 100% sure. But Ranelagh at that time was definitely not a club for school kids.
Yeah.
It was a team built on intensity and aggression, honestly. There was... yeah,
it sure was.
It was just short of fist fights at training, like every few weeks, like we wouldn't be getting into proper scraps with each other, although there was the occasional hand thrown or leg kicked out or whatever. But players were not afraid of hurling abuse at you if you were getting on their case. making mistakes or whatever it was. And that sort of confrontational environment was definitely not something that I was, I suppose, prepared for coming into it. So yeah,
it was very kill or be killed for sure. And like you'd have the senior lads like would come up to you, like you and me were in the same scenario. We were both very young joining that club, I guess, like in 2012 when we had our first season. Like I'd been training with Dublin Ultimate, but that was the first year around, and I'd have Marco and Brit Boy come up and nudge me and be like, are you okay with the lads talking about their plans for the weekend? And me being 21 would have to go up to like Niall or Rob Kiley or some of these real old lads, like experienced lads, and be like, lads, shut the fuck up, like we're here to train. And it was just, like, that was just the culture. It was like, anyone's allowed to call you out, and we're here to work, and we've got 2 hours twice a week, let's get to work. Yeah Absolutely. And
I remember after making the team, we had because the way the season was structured was you do a lot of your fitness then for the first month or 2 months of the season, whatever it was. So it was very high focus on conditioning, and we had a sockeye box drill, and I got matched. And the way we ran the sockeye box drill was the offense doesn't leave the drill until you win. So I got matched up with Robbie Brennan, and I was stuck in that box for must have been close to 7 minutes. My legs were fucking jelly by the end. I think maybe
that was the warm up too,
like,
wasn't it?
I'm gonna let him out here. You know, it's been long enough. He's been punished enough. My legs are jelly. I'm on the brink of passing out. And yeah, that was, I really just was an anecdote to how much Ranelagh didn't give a shit who you were. Like everyone's in the same boat here.
For sure. So that was obviously the old school vibe. We're talking like 9, 8 years ago, and then kind of the old guard passed, and it's changed a lot. The vibes have changed a lot at Ranelagh. So tell us a bit about what it's like now relative to the old days.
Yeah, so I suppose something happened it was either 2015 or 2016. I guess the experiment with myself and Brian went kind of well, taking on school kids. So the squad decided to take on a bunch more school kids, but the team culture didn't change in terms of that aggression and intensity. Yeah. And a year after taking them on, all those kids decided that this club wasn't for them. So yeah, after that, there was a big realization. It dawned on everyone that something needs to change, because that was the golden generation of Irish Ultimate, if you will. Was just lost through our fingertips, and from that's how XCI, the club, was born. So yeah, I guess the leadership kind of changed. I think Brit Boy sat down, Robbie took over, and Robbie moved to Korea, and Quinner took over. Then Quinner moved to the UK, and Steve took over, and Steve has been captain ever since. So yeah, we wanted to go through a big culture. We had to go through a big culture change, really, to make sure that didn't happen. There was a mass exodus of players from year to year, young players and then old players after that as well. So the guard really kind of changed. And what is the club like now? I suppose the way that we've tried to build the culture now is it's founded mostly on trust. You have to be able to trust your teammates and trust them, not in a way where it's okay for you to just be hurling abuse at them the whole time, but trust them in a way where it's okay to show love to each other and show that, you know, we don't all have to be these burly, macho, masculine men who have no feelings. But it's not the reality. It's like, we do have feelings, and we have to care for each other, you know, and enjoy what we're doing and try and take care of each other's lives. There's so much more happening in all of our own lives than just Ultimate. And the attitude that Ranelagh took before of this club is work, this club is your job, your career. I mean, that's not the way it can be anymore. This club is to be something that you love, has to be something that you enjoy and want to be a part of and want to give back to. And I think that really is the foundation of where we are now. And that kind of grew from a core group of players who wanted more for the club and wanted more for their own success and those around them. And we're really just willing to put in the time to say that, look, it's all well and good talking about these things, but you have to actually put it into action if you want to see it realized.
And you've also got like a non-playing coach, Ian French, pretty decorated coach. And I'd say you're one of the top teams at the moment who can benefit from this non-playing coach. How does that leadership dynamic work between the captains and the coach?
Yeah, so it was a really interesting one, bringing Frenchie on. Because Frenchie was a former player, actually, and I think he only played one season for us in 2016. And to be honest, I think he you can ask him yourself, I'm sure, but I think he more just used the season with Ranelagh to train for the Irish 2016 setup. I think a few of the Java lads did do that. And in the end, we didn't win the championship that year. And I think he actually then offered to, or said he wanted to coach the team the following year. And he was turned down by the captain at the time, which was Quinner. I think from 2018 or 2019, I was brought in as head coach. And so I was player coaching, which is what Ranelagh had been doing for so long, and developing a bunch of new systems, blah, blah, blah. And eventually realized, look, there's just far too much work on my plate, especially with the Irish 2019 team coming in and everything else, our Team Ireland 2020. There's just too much going on. So we called for bids to coach the squad, having seen that a few different teams around Europe had brought in non-playing coaches from other areas. I think La Fota had Stefan Rekit coaching them for a while, and we were like, geez, if we could maybe get something like that, it'd be great. Yeah. And we first name on the sign-up list was Ian French, which was totally out of the blue, and we didn't expect it because he was, from our perspective, fairly locked in with the gravity and women's setup at the time.
I would have thought so too.
Had just come off a gold medal at EUC with the Irish women's team, which was absolutely spectacular.
And they would have barely just missed out to Euros medals. Only Fiona got knocked out in the semis.
Right?
Not in the semis. Yeah, it wasn't the semi. It must have been the quarters. And then Sarah, I think, had food poisoning as well, or something like that. So
really? Okay.
So straight away, you have like your two best players are out. So that made the semis and 3-4 quite hard.
So we kind of had to talk about it for a while and had a few chats with him about our expectations and whatnot. And eventually we decided we'd go for it. And when we announced it to the squad, there was a bunch of laughing when it happened, because it was like, this is a big play that we just made. This is a really big kind of risk that we've taken, bringing Frenchie in to do it. And best risk we've ever taken. I mean, the man is amazing. The amount of work that he's lifted off of my own shoulders and the rest of the leadership shoulders is incredible. He designs session plans, the season plans. He's brilliant. Even just something as simple as calling lines. It's so difficult to call lines when you're a player and being worried about stepping on other people's toes. I mean, if I'm responsible for calling the lines, I'm afraid to call myself on consistently in case other people think that this is bullshit or whatnot. So having him doing even something as simple as that is just a game changer. And then you add in all of the other things that he's doing in terms of strategy, training plans and designs and all this stuff. It's brilliant. But yeah, in terms of delineating our responsibilities, that would be it. He's entirely responsible for the performance of the team on the pitch, and the leadership group is responsible for logistics, the administration and the culture of the club and driving that forward.
But we're seeing the results. I mean, the club's performing better and better outside of Ireland, nearly medaling at Euros last year. Like, talk us through some of the motions and experiences from that tournament. So like the win against Badskid and then the losses against Cusp and Gentle. Like, there are probably different things to pull out of each game, but like, what kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible tournament really all round. It's probably one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had in Ultimate. Getting to play with a group of guys that you really do trust and love, and getting to go as far as we did was incredible. So I think we started off the tournament pretty strong up against Forward. It was a bit of a blowout game, and I think at that stage we thought, okay, maybe we might cruise through a few of our games here. And then second game was against Muck. They gave us a big bash to the face, that's for sure. But I think honestly in that game we would have felt like we should have won. It was in our grasp and threw it away. But it was the right thing to happen to us for sure, to get that loss and realize, look, we have adjustments to make. And this is not going to be any stroll in the park for sure. So next game then was a slog against Odin from Sweden. I mean, after coming off that loss, we were in a down period for sure, and Odin didn't make it easy for us at all. I think that was also a learning experience, is that you need to be able to move on quickly from the last game if you want to perform at your best, because we did not perform anywhere near our own level.
I think that's a big thing for Euros, isn't it? You don't really have time to like have a pity party. Like it's on to the next big European team. Like no one's going to be a slouch. So
yeah, absolutely. They moved up to the power pools with Fab and Fui. I think it was Fui our first game the second day, and And Fui was a team who I'd been chatting around to a few players ahead of the tournament, asking who were their tips for the tournament and whatnot. And Fui had been tipped to reach the semis and to batter us if we did play them, to be honest. So I was well wary of them ahead of the game, and made sure that the team knew that too. And we came into the game fired up and intense, and from our perspective it was a pretty big blowout. I think the game ended 15-10, but it never felt like it was anywhere near for them to win the game at all. So yeah, it was a really great game, and one of our strongest performances of the tournament as well, I think, and that really kind of set the tone for saying, look, we're a serious team here, and we can go far if we really get down to it. Next game then against Fab was a blowout, and
nice.
Whatever way it happened, because Muck got pushed into the power pools with us. I think Fui ended up beating Muck or something, so it came down to a 3-way tie, and that pushed us up to the top, which was perfect. So yeah, quarterfinal then, bad skid. Finally, we get to play against one of the really recognized big teams, and with some of the most established players as well in the continent. You've got your Nico Muller, you've got your Steph Dosher who's blowing onto the scene. We were kind of disappointed that the Mullers weren't playing. It was great now to get the opportunity to play them this weekend. But we still knew, like, bad skid, our experienced squad, they weren't going to go away easy.
It was a small squad for skid, wasn't it? Like, it wasn't as big as in previous years, and I think, like, in part, like, because the Mullers weren't playing, they're maybe down a couple.
A lot of people overlook the rest of their team. I mean, it's really bad skid isn't just Nico Muller. You know, they've got 12, 14 other guys who do their jobs, and they do them really well. You know, you're not going to become one of the top teams in Europe off just the back of 2 players. You have to have everyone working together, and they do an excellent job of that. I mean, the term faceless warriors gets thrown around a lot, but really they do have a bag of faceless warriors to reach into who do an excellent job on any of us. But yeah, I think that game was really tight game from start to finish. It was an incredible matchup. I was really delighted that I got the opportunity to mark up against Nico Muller as well, someone that I'd been looking up to for a few years. I think he's just off the back of a European Player of the Year award as well. He was actually the reigning European Player of the Year at that time. And yeah, to get the opportunity to match up with him was incredible, and I think that I'm coming away from that game with so much more respect for him as well, and I think he'll probably have a lot more respect for me too, just given the way that we played each other. It was very physical, and we were willing to kind of toe the line of what is and isn't allowed. But I think between us there was only 2 calls the entire time. The last one, he made a foul call in the end zone, I think Universe, or maybe the second point before Universe, and it was uncontested. And then I made a pick call immediately after that, and it was funny as well because his teammate was like, do you think that affected? And Nico immediately said, no, it was a pick, he knows. And I think it was at that moment it was like he knew that I'm not going to make a call unless I really think there is a call, and it was the same for him. I knew he was never going to make a call unless he really thought there was a call, because there was a few times he could have called foul on me and he didn't. So yeah, there was a big ups to Nico for that one, and really enjoyable matchup. I'm looking forward to getting the chance to do it again for sure.
Yeah, I think his season with Ironside and yours in Alston probably allow you guys to like respect a little level of physicality we're not maybe as used to in Europe. But yeah, but I'd say both of you, like, I mean I remember watching that at the time and just thinking like, that's mad physical, but like both of you just cracking on with it, and I was like, this is good fucking ultimate. Like, it was sick.
Yeah, getting that starting that last point in, Jesus Christ, that fucking last point. Was it, like,
I remember people joining the chat being like, I've missed most of this match, but are we sure this is a quarter-final? They were like, are they sure this is a quarter of Euros?
Someone on the commentary described it so well. I mean, it was just the adrenaline, the lactic acid going through our bodies. Like, everything was just alarm bells going off for all the players on the pitch. It was a mad one.
It was Lorcan and Sean on commentary, wasn't it? I just couldn't think of 2 better lads to be behind the mics for that one. Lorcan, the most passionate Irishman, and then Sean, who's like, will adopt Ireland when it feels appropriate. There's a lot of family, I think, in Wexford. And I think it's Wexford they're in, and I think he was rooting for you guys as well, so he's just buzzing around that game.
Yeah, they were a cracking combo. My favourite commentary combo, I would probably say. They were brilliant. I mean, Lorcan's way with words is incredible. The man is
very
incredible. And he's like a poet on the mic. It's brilliant. And Sean as well has a really good eye for identifying systems and analyzing. I thought he was excellent too. So yeah, then next game coming up against Bologna, and we knew, look, it's one thing to reach the semi, but you have to actually show that you deserve to be there. And I think for the most part we did. We really put it up to Bologna.
For sure.
It was a cracking game, and I was happy with the performance of pretty much all the whole team. I think if you watch the footage, you can see that we're quite drained after that quarter final. It is a bit of a slog for us, but despite that, we're still putting everything we've got out on the line to make it a contest. And I'm really proud of the boys after that one. It was incredible, and big shout out again to Lorcan, I suppose, for crafting this story around our team and possibly making us one of the most supported teams that there was at the time. So yeah, it was great.
Especially someone who's like spent his whole career playing with Rebel and Pelt. It's just like for him to get behind Ranelagh was big. And then I guess the gentle game is just one too many big efforts.
Yeah, you know, we kind of touched on it as well when we were talking about the New Zealand game earlier. I think players were just checked out and not ready to go for that one. I think the amount of emotion that we had to expend in that quarterfinal against Badskid and then in that semi-final against La Follette, there wasn't anything left in the tank for people to take out of. I mean, your bodies might move, but the emotion and the mental game is not there. And when Gentle came in fired up, I mean, we wouldn't have noticed how fired up they were ahead of the game, but it was just play after play after play. Yeah. It was layout D's, layout grabs, all over the pitch.
All the rest.
It was not our day that day. I mean, and it was meant to be their day, honestly. They could not stop making plays left, right, and centre. But I think in the grand scheme of things, that is probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing that we lost that game and we had to walk home with our tail between our legs, knowing that, look, if we want to win something, it's not just going to be handed to us on a plate. We have to be ready to go for every single game, every single moment. We have to be fighting to win. And getting the opportunity then to play them at Bologna was nice, and to maybe get a little bit of payback. But we'll see what happens when the match means something.
Yes, sir. So speaking of Bologna, are we allowed to mention the Clapham game?
We can, of course.
Yeah. So I guess what do you think went on there? Was it like a collective mental brain fart, or what's the crack thing? Or I guess what would you change if you could go back to 9-3 and play out the rest of that match?
I think the first thing that's worth considering is that our goals for that tournament was not to win. We weren't going into each of those games looking for a win. We were going into those games looking to work on new systems, new ways of playing. We're looking to give new responsibilities to players and put them into new roles. And if you have a look at that Clapham game, the lines, I mean, the lines are very different from the lines that were successful at Euros. I know we're experimenting there. And it was incredible that we managed to go up, whatever it was, 9-2 and 9-3. And then what happened after that, I mean, it was a collective mental breakdown. I can speak from my own experience, like my personal experience. I was definitely feeling an incredible amount of pressure going into that game, given the expectations that I had set from the last season. I mean, there was, for whatever reason, this hype train was very much built around me. And then knowing that I had to go in and perform again against Clapham, who are the champions of Europe, having just been injured for must have been 3-4 months I was out, and then having to go in and go on stream. Yeah, it was a lot of pressure, and 3 drops in that game. After that first drop, clap catch drop to the chest, I mean, it was immediately like, oh fuck. I was there was a mental
goes quick, doesn't it?
There was a mental problem there. I was like, okay, everything I've been worrying about and scared that will happen, like I will be found out that I'm not the player that I was back then, just happened in that moment. Wow. And it was really tough to deal with, knowing that, look, the team might rely on me in certain situations, and I don't feel like I'm ready to be relied on. So yeah, for me it was a mental checkout, and I suppose that kind of capitulated maybe across the team, because my focus was internal. thinking about why am I messing up constantly, and I wasn't able to give energy to the team. And I think that maybe spread across a lot of the team as well. A lot of the players ended up thinking, why am I not good enough? Why am I making these mistakes? And is the problem me? When the reality is actually we need to just support each other and trust each other, and shit happens. Shit is always going to happen, but the best we can do is just make sure that we give everything we can to the team and those around us to keep playing as well as we can. So while that may have been the most embarrassing moment of my career, I am delighted that it happened at Bologna and not at Worlds or Euros, and I think the rest of the squad is too. Very, very important learning experience for us, and you know what, if everyone else wants to write us off, then so be it.
You've kind of touched on a little bit, but like you personally had a bit of a breakout season or two in the last few years, like first being like the big dog on the Irish O-line at 2019. I guess you and Podge were a pretty like dynamic duo, Batman and Robin vibes, like where I think both of you were Batman. And then
good save.
Yeah, and then last year Euros, like I think everyone's like finally putting like a lot of respect in your name, and well-deserved respect in my opinion. How does it feel to be becoming one of those more well-known players, more scouted, more worried about, a player that people really need a game plan for? Like I know you touched on it there, but I guess it's a bit different when you're coming back after a few months of injury and stuff to go into Bologna or Elite Invitas to give it its proper title and play Clapham and stuff. But I guess just generally how's the vibe?
It's a little surreal, I guess. I mean, I always had confidence in myself and my own ability, but after that Euros run, it was very much a case of like I thought I was good, but I didn't realize I could be this good. when the moment comes. So yeah, it was nice. I'm not sure am I quite at the level where teams are game planning around me. Maybe I am. Maybe they already have been, and I haven't noticed. And that's not because I'm just this incredible player that can't be stopped. I think it's more because, I mean, look at our team. People try to put all the attention on me, but we've got like 5, 6, 7 of the top of the best players in Europe. We were talking about Matthew Feely, who's one of the best break mark throwers in the continent. We've got Smurf and Tig, who are just absolutely incredible cutters and are able to do anything. We've got Luke Doyle, who is an absolute speed demon and safe pair of hands, can shut anyone down. I mean, the squad, we've got depth all over, and for whatever reason, people like to try and put all this emphasis on me as being this focal point of the team, but that's not the case. If you try and shut me down, we've got 4, 5, 6 other guys who are going to ruin you time and time again. And that's really why this team is so successful, is that anyone can step up in any moment and take on the biggest roles. And we trust each other to do that as well. It's amazing being part of this team. It's definitely one of the most cohesive units that I've ever played with, and loving every moment of it. For sure.
Nice. Love that. So I mentioned it a little bit, but like you did a summer in the States where you played with the Austin Soul and the ADL, and trained with Double Wide. What do you think these teams are kind of doing that European teams aren't? And like, what's the gulf in talent like in the States? And short, like, why are we behind? Is it just like a player base issue where they just have more people playing, or is there stuff they're just doing different?
Look, the player base is obviously an issue. I mean, I think there's more players in the United States than there is in the rest of the world combined. Don't quote me on that, but
it feels like it at times, though. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that might be true. So then, in terms of what are we missing here? I mean, there is definitely a big focus on players all the time, but I actually feel like it might be coaches. I think coaches might be the bigger issue. How many teams do you know? I mean, we spoke about now. Our team is a luxury having a non-playing coach. How many teams do you know that actually have non-playing coaches, whether it's at the elite end or anywhere down to the grassroots end? Yeah. Almost all of the American teams have non-playing coaches. They have people who are willing to put in the time to make a team successful without being part of the success on the pitch. You know, they're part of the success from the sideline, if you will. Although great teams will treat them as one of their own. But that's definitely where we're missing a lot of resources. Is that I can't speak for every country, I guess, but in Ireland in particular, when players are done playing, that's it. They're gone. They're not in the community anymore. It doesn't seem like there's any other outlet for them to stay a part of. And now we're extremely lucky. Masterclasses, the recently set up team, heading to Worlds now. Best of luck to them. Starting this weekend, by the way.
Yes, sir.
So there's a new outlet there, but the kind of continuation of where you go when you're at the last few years of your career and you're not really able to hang with the people who are in their prime. Like, what do? Do you just give up? There isn't really any league or much pickup going on, and they maybe haven't really taken the time to earn their badges in coaching roles. You know, they haven't coached any school teams, they haven't coached any college teams or any other club teams. So we're really at a kind of dead end then in terms of what we can do. And I think that maybe a player base is to do with that in America, is that there are actually a lot more opportunities to coach. But yeah, I guess the more coaches we have, the better it would be for pushing ourselves to the next level.
Fair. So how did you find playing with refs? Like, pretty much all the decisions are in your hands for most part, and like the adapted rules, I guess the ideal as well. And is there anything from those adapted rules that you would adopt for Frisbee, or for Ultimate rather?
In general, I actually didn't find them to be too bad because I didn't notice them that much. In some cases, I thought that they were grand, you know, like calling the stalls and calling the in and out calls and whatnot. Because, yeah, honestly, I found playing with the observers more difficult.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, and it wasn't because the observers themselves are inherently bad. It's because the way... hope the Americans don't hate me for this. It's the way the Americans were playing the game. Is that anytime there was a call, it was, I'm not going to bother listening to what you have to say.
Yeah.
If you're going against what I'm going to say, I'm just going to go to the observer and let him decide. And it's like, what is the point? And then, you know, that kind of led to more suspect calls being called, and there's a lot more anonymity between teams and players on the pitch because they know that they're not going to get held accountable for their calls because they can just pass it off to this other guy who takes responsibility. So yeah, I found that playing with the observers was much more difficult simply because the players that you're playing against played with almost less respect is how I would describe it.
I think that's very common. Like, I've watched enough North American stuff to see that happen a lot, where someone, either they have a conversation about it, be like, let's get a third perspective, or they just say, I don't want your perspective, I want someone else's. And it's just a bit, it's very different to, say, the game advisor system. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'd rather that the two lads can come to a resolution themselves, and then if they really want to involve them, for sure, go for it. But it shouldn't be like, if you're just going to go to the observer every single time, then what is the point in talking to each other for the 30 seconds to begin with? I mean, you may as well just say, I don't give a shit what you have to say, let's just get him to do it. You know, be more honest about it.
Just be direct. If you're going to be that guy who doesn't care or isn't bothered listening, then just say it from the get-go. So yeah, when I do see the US players who actively avoid going to the observers, because there are a select few, I have a shitload of respect for those guys, and I'd love to play with those guys. KPS is one of them. I'm not sure if you met him. Kevin Petit Scantling off of Chicago. I always see, now he's a big boy, gets involved in a lot of calls, but he will always do his best to never ask the observer to get involved, and love that. Yeah, you know, it's going back to the roots of the game. Yeah,
nice. So the other question then was just kind of like, are there any of the adapted rules you'd adopt for Ultimate?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. Actually, the one thing that I found really interesting about AEDL, and is something that I thought should be tinkered with a lot in terms of strategy and could maybe be brought into Wolfstuff rules, was the double team rule. Okay. I thought that was really cool that you were able to selectively choose a double team, because it's not always in your favor to double team. I mean, you're basically leaving someone totally unmarked on the pitch. All the thrower has to do is get it past you. But for you to be in a flash instance, be able to throw on a quick double team to maybe stop a high stall situation, I thought that was really cool. And now I don't think Wolfstuff will ever introduce it, of course, but definitely something that could be experimented with there for sure.
It's funny that you'd say that to me as well, because if you've watched any of like our streams, like I go fucking ham for a double team. But I think if it was allowed in the rules, I'd be like, fine, yeah, cool, that's fine. But because it's currently not allowed in the rules, I'm just sitting here just tilted, being like, fucking stop. Yeah. As a lefty, you probably have a reputation as being a big, dirty, massive traveller. Do you ever get like tilted by like weak travel calls or like other minor infringements? Like, do you find that there's like a weak call problem? I guess like more so in Ireland, I think, than the rest of Europe. I'd say in the UK, like we're known as having quite a lot of incidental things being called. I mean, sticklers for like the letter of the law in Ireland.
I think when it comes to domestic games, there are significantly more calls than there needs to be. For whatever reason, maybe just the respect for your opponent just goes out the window in some ways. I mean, that's a bit extreme, but there is definitely a lot more insignificant breaches called in domestic games, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think it needs to be that way because it makes the game so much less enjoyable. And then when it comes to it being like an Irish problem outside of Ireland, I would say no. I mean, I don't watch all of the Pelt and XVI games or Tribe, Rebel, whoever else is playing Gravity. I haven't seen all of their games, but based on Ranelagh's own standings in terms of spirit, I'd say we're pretty good. I mean, we came second at Euros. We just won the Bologna, the Elite Invite Spirit. I'm not sure how we finished at Windmill there, though. There's a lot of new players playing with us. So yeah, I think we've got a pretty good reputation for not being sticklers for the rules, and I think that that's definitely part of how we like to play is just get on with the game. You know, we actually try to avoid calls as much as possible, as opposed to looking for things to call. And when a team is looking for things to call, I mean, it's very easy to tell that that's the way they like to play. Isn't it? Yeah, it's very obvious, and it's very frustrating. I mean, calls should not be the deciders of games. It's so just get on with the game is how we like to treat it, and then when it comes to the communication as well, it's just always listen to your opponent's perspective. You always got to trust your opponent that they're not lying to you, and that anything they say is something that they believe, and they're only calling for a reason. So yeah, in terms of sticklers for the rules domestically, I think there may be a bit of a problem there, and you know, in part it could be to do with a few individuals kind of creating a culture around calling, as opposed to it being a team thing. And I'd wonder maybe if that's the same in the UK. Yeah, potentially. So I asked this to Con last year on stream. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. If you could change, add, or remove one rule, what would it be and why? Change, add, or remove one rule.
So for example, my one, and Con actually could have availed of this at the final Windmill, is that if you can get enough hang time on your pull, you can contest a catch for a Callahan. And he had 11 second hang time. So he had 11 second hang time on a pull at Windmill finals, so he definitely could have bid on that. But I guess the danger there is you have some like Leroy Jenkins just like running 70 yards and trucking someone.
It was a cracking pull, but they still let off the first pass to the centre.
And 6 of them are offside, so
I'm clapping.
Yeah, on the lads.
What rule did he say? I actually can't think of it.
I can't remember. It was something around picks. I think he said remove picks. Something like that.
Remove picks.
Something
that would
like
be an interesting one.
Or like be allowed to do strategic pick. I can't remember. It was something like that, I thought.
Yeah, no, I've kind of tinkered with that idea as well. If legal screens were possible, like in basketball, that would be a kind of cool way to change the game. And I do think, honestly, that that's going to be the next step, the next advancement in the way Ultimate is played these days.
Do you think?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we've moved from, we had our matchup defense. I mean, for whatever about offense, we had matchup defense, zone defense, and now the meta of Ultimate is very much sort of blended, switchy type defense. Championed by Chicago Machine. I think that the way that offense is going to advance past that, I mean, we've already seen the small ball meta take over now with Ring of Fire, Pony, and stuff. And I mean, even ourselves, we love a bit of small ball.
You do. For it too on the women's side. Yeah,
damn right. Anyone in North Carolina, I mean, the Pleiades and I can't remember their women's club team name off the top of my head. Rally Phoenix, is that right? So yeah, I think that the next thing is going to be deliberately creating switches and mismatches for the offense. So, for example, because
see.
the defense is playing a switchy poachy type defense, if you're able to deliberately create a mismatch through the use of their own switching, then that plays to the offense's advantage. So yeah, I definitely think that that's going to be the next evolution of ultimate offense.
If we using the switch against the defense, I think that's smart. Okay, love that. So Wook obviously this year, Ranelagh haven't necessarily like placed overly well in the last two editions they've gone to. So 43rd in 2014 and 21st in 2018. Now I wrote that question and then I thought about it and I was like, being the 21st most talented team in the world is pretty good. So what's the goal for the squad this year, and any like secret game plans or stuff you can, maybe not secret game plans, but any like plans in place to get you there to your goals?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we want to achieve high, but we also like to set realistic goals and not set expectations too high. If we beat 21st, that's great. We'd certainly plan on doing that. I think we'd like to make the top 16, and if we can get a good pre-quarter, then that's a top 8. Similar to what I said earlier, a match is a match. Anything can happen in one match. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. I mean, there can be a winner. There can only be one winner, but like it can, any game on anyone's day, there can be a winner. That's what I'm trying to say here. So if we can reach the top 16 and pull ourselves a favorable matchup in that pre-quarter, then yeah, I'd like to see us maybe pushing for a top 8 spot. Cool. I definitely think that we can reach that height. And then in terms of strategies for achieving that, I think after 2018, Colony have really championed the whole pickup strategy. Yeah, Jimmy Mickle, Chris Gotcher pickups, and I think that we're going to see quite a few teams running the same thing. I know Is No Good have their Joe White, Tim Shock. We've got LaFada picking up Kirk Gibson, Goose, and Ryan Cable. We've got Mooncatchers now after picking up Johnny Bansfield and Paul Arders. I imagine there might be a few other teams as well who have a few pickups that haven't been announced. So yeah, I think we'll probably see a bit of a pickup strategy going on. I know as well there's an Australian team, I think Haas, are picking up KPS, the guy I was talking about earlier. The New Zealand Wildcats are picking up Jason Cheetah, who plays for Sub-Zero. So yeah, we're gonna see a good bit of movement around of players and maybe some pickups that weren't expected, and we have kind of embraced that idea as well. We definitely think that taking on a few extra players might be a means of pushing us that bit higher in the tournament. But as well as that, you know, it's more than just about winning games. It's about building new connections across the world. Maybe having some people that can play with us down the line, or if we're in their part of the world, we can play with them and train with their team, and we can learn some new things from them as well and take that back to Ireland and really push the level back here.
Fair.
So yeah.
So then I guess I'd be interested to know, like, does your mental game and your mental prep for a week-long tournament change much relative to like a weekend or a 3-day tournament like Windmill or Euros?
Yes, I think so. I think it's probably more the mental prep in tournament that is different. When you're at a week-long tournament, you get a lot more time between games to kind of reset, we could say, to kind of assess what happens and put yourself into a new headspace and move on to the next game. With that extra time, it also means that you need to be a little bit more active in terms of your recovery and not let the body tighten up too much. So you're focusing on just staying fresh and ready. And I also think that with the 2 games a day schedule, that's a funny one. I was going to say it kind of places less value on each game, but maybe it puts more. I'm not too sure about that one, but for me, it's always easier for me to move on from a morning game on a 2 game a day than from a morning game on a 3 or 4 game a day for sure. So the mental prep is heading into the tournament not necessarily hugely different. I mean, once I'm at a tournament, I'm at a tournament. There's nothing else going on in my life. You know, it's the tournament is all I'm there for, and that's all the only thing I'm focused on. But yeah, once you're in your day-to-day, game to game, it's you're thinking about how much time you have in between, how much fuel can you get on board, what are the little things that you need to do to put yourself in the best position to be successful on the next game or the next day. So yeah, huge differences, not necessarily. It's more of a nuanced thing, I'd say.
So before you get to work, you got London Invite this weekend. Anyone you're particularly interested in having a crack at there? Any unfinished business?
Yeah, Wall City.
Nice.
I would be very interested to play because we have not played them yet, and I actually don't know if I've ever played them. Maybe I have in the past, but to be honest, I wouldn't really have given much attention to them. I didn't really rate them as a team. I don't know if anyone really did. So it's kind of amazing what they've managed to achieve in the last 2-3 years, from going from nowhere to becoming a pretty established team in Europe, and not just their men's team, by the way, their women's team too. Jinx is shaking up the division over there. So a lot of good things happen in Berlin.
What's the difference in your approach for this event compared to Windmill last weekend?
Oh, huge difference.
Yeah.
So
because I think the reason I asked this specifically is because people were kind of asking after the weekend, like, what happened to Ranelagh? But I kind of knew, so I thought it'd be good for you to tell people.
Yeah, I mean, what did we finish, 17th or something? I guess.
Let's go.
A bit of an underachievement, maybe, given what we've done at Euros. But yeah, no, our objectives for Windmill were certainly not to win the tournament. We're not looking. I mean, look, winning is nice, winning games is nice, but that's not plan A. You know, we wanted to, similar, I suppose, to Elite Invite, experiment with a few new things and give opportunities to players who may not otherwise get them. We have a lot of new players on the team this year, and Windmill was open registration. If you wanted to go, you would go and you would play. So we had 16 Worlds players on the squad and 13 non-Worlds players on the squad.
Right.
And for every game, we were rotating, resting 8 players. And of those rested 8 players, they had to be on the World squad. So we're playing 13 non-Worlds players and 8 World players for every game. Okay. And the goal was to get the non-Worlds players involved as much as possible, give them opportunities for game time to show what they've got and to show whether they should be fighting for a place at the Euros tournament later in the season. And then, as well, it was focus mostly on team bonding and bringing everyone together for the new season and kicking us off proper, and really just enjoying the weekend. So while the results were not the best, we definitely achieved all of our objectives because everyone had a great time, and it was really, really brilliant. Personally, I hate Windmill for competitive tournaments. Not the tournament itself. I love Windmill as a tournament. Yeah. I hate Windmill as to treat Windmill as a competitive warm-up tournament, because it's supposed to be a party tournament and it's a party atmosphere, and that's really difficult for you to just focus on performing and acting the way that you would at a world championship or a European club championship. I mean, it's really conflicting. So I think that treating Windmill as a let's have fun here is a much better way to go about it, and totally paid off. And I think that's totally the way that we're going to treat it going forward as well. Yeah,
I think I kind of agreement with you as well. And like, having previously performed quite well at Windmill, like I've seen the benefits of having a lot of good competition there. But I found this year especially that and maybe it's me showing my fucking age, but like I found that the turnaround time in between games is exceptionally punishing. Like you probably have 20-25 minutes downtime before you have to be at your next pitch and like warming up and think about that, and like it's not enough time to like do your sun cream again and then do like food and water and everything. Like you go into the next game having just like downed an Nalgene that has like 3 hydration tablets in it, and you're like, I'm ready to go. It's like, you're fucking not. Like and you're doing that like 7 games over 2 days. It's punishing. So I think I'm kind of in agreement with you.
So many people were remarking on that this year, saying that there's such little time between games. We were wondering, has it been like that? Is that the same game schedule every year?
It's always the same. It's always the same, but I think this year the heat just didn't help. Like the heat was a ball ache this year for sure. Like Sunday was manageable, but all of us finished our games like early on basically. But yeah, it's tricky. Like
it is very tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great to play in front of that crowd, you know, in the finals. That looks really fun, but at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess back to this weekend. Are you buzzing for it? Like, have the organisers done a good enough job to excite you for another quality tournament, and anything you'd like to see more for like the next edition if they haven't done enough marketing and stuff for this time around?
I think they've done a pretty good job at showcasing the tournament. I'm really glad that they are hosting it. It was definitely an idea that I had, or that we had, was to kind of put together a Dublin invite, because we know that the Euros qualification, you could call it, is changing, and they're looking to have a few ranking events going into the European Club Championships. I mean, they're basically asking places to host tournaments like Bologna invite, so that they can use them as a ranking. And I was like, what better opportunity than to have all of the elite clubs literally come to us. We don't have to fly all the way across to go play the top competition. And then shortly after that, the London invite idea got thrown around in an email, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, we don't have to organize it. It's literally for whatever, a short flight as well. So yeah, we were like, grand, this will be great. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I don't know what the pitch quality will be like, though. That's maybe the first concern. I suppose I can add a lot more in terms of how well it went after having been there. But yeah, it looks like it's being run pretty well. They're doing all their social media bits and all that jazz, which is great. And I would be curious to hear, what was their process for deciding which teams get kicked out in order for Alba and Chevron to play? Fui and KMK just got given the boot there, like, poor lads. Who made that decision? And why?
I'll shout down to Con. I'll be like, here, come here, Freddie has questions. I don't think he's home. He's training tonight, so once he's in, I'll get you on WhatsApp. All right, so just a few things then to wrap up. Looking past this season, what does the future hold for Ferdia Rogers? More frisbee, more travel? What are you thinking?
I suppose I don't think the frisbee is going away anytime soon. I've kind of come to peace, or come to terms with that agreement with myself, is that I can't really see myself putting ultimate out of my life anytime soon, and so I'm kind of gonna have to make decisions around that in some ways. Will it be to the same degree? I don't know. Will it be playing for the same teams? I don't know. It's hard to turn my back on Ranelagh at the moment. But we'll see what happens. We'll just wait for that opportunity. I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to work and live abroad, and I still think that is going to happen. It's just a matter of when, as opposed to if. The biggest issue has constantly been ultimate, is in the way, you've got your European championships with Ireland, your world championships with Ireland, then you've got Euros with your club, your world championships with your club,
and another cycle starts next year, so like again. Fuck me. When
the fuck are you able to go,
So what's your hottest take on ultimate?
This is a good question. I actually have two hot takes. So the first one,
order them in levels of heat.
Don't worry. The second one's going to be a hotter take. I'm sure you'll like it. The first one is that I think yardage is a terrible metric for measuring the performance of ultimate. I know Ultiworlds have been posting all these new better box score metrics and all this shit recently, and I think a lot of it has come from AUDL, but ultimate I don't think is played like the NFL is played, and I think that treating yardage as the most important metric in ultimate is a mistake. I think that the game can be played a lot more like football, soccer for any of you nerds. And that moving the disc backwards and moving it sideways can be just as advantageous as moving it forwards, and it's not all about just gaining those extra inches and yards to just push it into the end zone. And I think that the Japanese really embrace that style of play. They're totally willing to move the disc fluidly and dynamically all over the pitch to gain an advantage, and I definitely think that is for me a better way of treating the game and of playing. So get rid of all this yardage nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong. There's definitely still value in measuring that stuff.
There's merit to it, but it shouldn't be the be all end all. Yeah, it's not our top stop.
I mean, if you're looking at a player on the pitch who moves the disc sideways consistently, and every time he moves the disc sideways, there's a second pass that gains fucking 20, 30 yards on a huge under or a hook or whatever. You're looking at this player based on the data, and this player has no value. It's stupid. I mean, there's definitely an eye test when it comes to measuring the value of a player. Now, that's not to say data isn't valuable. Data is massively valuable. Love it. But even something like the number of passes, number of touches, minutes on the pitch, whatever it is, I'd find that those things can be of more value than just yards per throw.
Turn to touch ratio pretty big too.
No, for sure. We can get on to Feely about that one. Turnover machine. Okay. Yeah. Great, man. Okay, and then the second hot take is being left-handed is a massively overrated advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that all you ever hear about is that he's lefty is a huge advantage, and I think if that was the case, we would see significantly more top-level left-handed players in the game. And I guess I always had my doubts about this one. I mean, let's be honest, breaking the mark is definitely can definitely be easier when you're left-handed because the mark is not used to having to stop lefties. But when the US tryout list came out for, I want to say 2020, I think, they had about 150 names. 150 names on the list. Let me go left-hand population. 10%. So 10% of people in the world are left-handed.
Yikes.
And they had about 150 names on the list, and there were less than 10 that were left-handed as invited to tryouts.
Yeah.
And then I think they had an extended squad, and of the people that made the extended squad, only 3 were left-handed. So less than 10% were left-handed, even though we imagine if it's an advantage, there should be more than 10% that should be left-handed.
Yeah.
And then to the extended squad, it was an even smaller number than that. And of the 3 players that were left-handed that were invited, none of them were considered elite level throwers. They were all athletes.
Brilliant.
It was fucking, it was insane. So I was there thinking, like, why is this the case? If being left-handed is such an advantage, surely there should be more and better lefties selected for what is the best team in the world. And I'm still trying to figure out what it is, but for me, I think that, so if you put yourself on the pitch and you imagine yourself cutting laterally for, in both cases it's a righty, imagine yourself cutting laterally for an inside flick versus an inside backhand. That cut should probably be slightly different, right? Because the throw is going to be slightly different depending on which one it is. And so I think that when you're playing with a lefty, it's pretty hard, unless you've developed a lot of chemistry with that player, it's pretty hard for you to adjust your cut to make way for the fact that it is a lefty on that side of the field as opposed to it being a righty. So now you're still cutting for an inside backhand when this person is throwing an inside flick over and over again. And maybe that leads to some miscues on the field or some slight mistimings or whatever
tighter
it is.
Windows maybe based on pivots.
Yeah, exactly. So I would agree. Breaking the mark is definitely an advantage being left-handed, but when it comes to actually cutting for your thrower, it can cause a bit of havoc if you're cutting for 6 out of 7 righties on the pitch and then all of a sudden you're making the same cuts for a lefty. He does not throw the same. But yeah, thought it was interesting looking at that data from the US World Team.
Very, very good insight as well into how you think about Ultimate. And the kind of the stats and stuff you look at. Another question submitted by one Aidan Kelly, and he asks, what product does Ferdia Rogers use in his hair?
Great question.
Mate, we might get some stream sponsors here if you do good enough jobs out on this shit.
Oh man, I'd love if they sponsor me. Brilliant stuff. But it's funny that one actually. After Euros, the amount of messages I got about my hair far exceeded the amount of messages I got about my play. It was,
I have a few friends who are like, "Who's the guy who plays Ranelagh?" And I was like, "Which guy?" And it's like, I think he's like the handler with good hair. Just like, what the fuck? Like, it's like, that's so. And I'm like, Dean with his dirty mullet, like, man, like, poor Dino. I would shear him like a sheep. That thing is awful. Like, it's so bad.
We were only talking about that yesterday. He's after getting because we got streamed on his now there at Windmill, and he's after getting more stick for his hair from the commentator. He says he's now gotten abuse on 4 streams for his hair from 3 different people.
That's very unprofessional. Who would ever do that? Like
the poor guy. So yeah, he asked me for a few hair tips there last night. We'll see if he takes them on board.
It's but, like any tips for my hair is like cut it. Like what do you mean? Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a great question for anyone who's actually interested. It's Blue Mon Original is the product I used. I found it about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it's beautiful stuff. Not going back.
Gets a chef's kiss. All right, here we go. Quick fire round. 10 questions submitted by the fans. Favorite tournament snack?
Oh, banana.
Okay. Favorite pump up song or artist?
Kanye.
Who?
Kanye.
Oh yeah.
Kanye West.
Yeah. Favorite team to play against?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go Bad Skid.
Nice. Least favorite team to play against?
Pelt.
That's what Robbie said. Favorite tournament?
Favorite tournament? EUCF.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I've only played one. I played 2, and no, I enjoyed them both. Yeah, it was good.
Nice. Cut one, keep one. Steed or Smurf?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Smurfs heading off to California. Get rid.
Oh yeah, see it. Yeah, he gave you an out.
Yeah, he did.
It's transfer deadline day. You can either get Dylan Ryan to play for Ranelagh, or you get Robbie Brennan back from Vancouver.
Sorry, Dill. It's Robbie B all day.
Oh, Savage. I put that one in. I wanted to see what you say.
Oh, don't you worry, man. We've been trying to work that Dill transfer for a while, but man is not moving.
No, he's not budging. He's West Coast, West Coast. Yeah,
we'd pick him up for Ranelagh, and he'd probably be an agent for Pelts the whole time. So.
Yeah, sleeper. Yeah,
exactly. We'll take Rob.
Yeah. Are things on fire, or is fire on things?
Ooh. No, things are on fire because they burn on the inside too.
Oh, okay. Final answer? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If a tomato is a fruit, is ketchup a smoothie?
Yes. Hey, do smoothies have to be made of fruit?
I don't fucking know.
Smoothie anyway.
Yeah, maybe. A final question of the night: McHale or Hoagie?
For what?
Just. That's it. Like. That's all the context you have.
It's Hoge all day.
Let's go.
See you later, Macker.
So that's all the questions I have for you. I don't know if you have any questions for me or anything you think I should have asked.
Anything you think you should have asked? I guess there's something that I thought would be worth talking about that didn't really come up, and I suppose it's what has kind of got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
I think it is something that's overlooked maybe a lot in terms of players' ability and development, and it'd be interesting really to look at the correlation between this. So I think that the opportunities that I've had have far exceeded the opportunities that so many other people would be able to do. I mean, I got lucky that my school had a team playing Ultimate, but being able to represent the Irish team at under 17 level, then under 20 level the next year, under 20 level the next year again. Then I went on to under 23s. Then it was the seniors. Then it was senior beach. Then it was under 24s. Then it was seniors again. I mean, represented the Irish team 9 years in a row. And sure, I was good enough to make those teams. But at the end of the day, I also had to be able to afford to play for those teams. And I think that's something that maybe doesn't get talked about enough in Ultimate, is that while the game itself is very accessible, all you need is a pair of boots, a piece of plastic, and 4 8 cones, whatever it is. In order to get to the highest level, you need to be well off. I mean, you need to have money. You need to be able to pay for things, and I think that makes Ultimate so inaccessible for so many people.
Yeah.
And I think that it's something that really needs to be looked at, and probably needs to be changed and improved going forward, because there's so many players and people who are missing out on the opportunity to get involved in this sport and play at a high level simply because they don't have the means to do so. And we're not really doing a good enough job at providing those opportunities for those players. So, I think that it's something that we need to kind of own up to and look into as well, because it's no secret, especially here in Europe, we're massively white dominated sport. I think in France I see the most maybe people of color playing, which is quite cool. I think the UK as well, you're doing a good job now with your mesh showcase games and stuff. But there definitely needs to be more of an emphasis put on to equitable practices, not only in terms of gender equity, which I know we're fronting a lot for at the moment, but getting people from less privileged positions into positions of opportunity and with a chance to play at a high level, because those are the guys who will find a sport they love and they'll take it with them to the end of their days.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a really good point to end on, I guess, and it's I'm really glad you brought that up, because as you said, like, hadn't put it in my questions, and I think if I had asked you, like, how did you get to where you get into, I wouldn't have expected that answer either. So yeah, thank you for, I guess, like, highlighting that. I think I'll include more questions in that kind of space for my follow-up interviews.
For sure. The other thing as well, so I'll double up in terms of the two things that I think got me to where I am. The first, obviously, is opportunity. I've been incredibly lucky in the privileged position I'm in to have those opportunities. But the other, I guess, is sacrifice. I've sacrificed so much to get to where I am. My relationships have suffered with friends, and my intimate relationships too. You see a lot of memes about it where dating an Ultimate player is the most unideal partner to have, because they're training nonstop every week, and then every free weekend it's like tournament, training weekend. You literally just don't get to hang out with your partner. So there's a lot of sacrifices there in terms of relationships. And then in terms of education as well, my grades have taken a battering, because I've always prioritized playing Ultimate ahead of studying in school and doing well, and then career prospects as well. I mean, I'm doing a master's now, and it's going excellently. It's nice. I'm loving it. But yeah, there's been an incredible amount of sacrifice to get to where I am, and I think that if you want to make it to the top of the game, if I am at the top of the game, you could say, then you need to make sacrifice. You need to make sacrifices and be willing to say that, yes, this is something that I want to put ahead of the other things in life that might matter to me, might matter to the people around me, my family and friends. And if you're lucky, you'll have a group of people around you that'll support you in doing that. And I've been incredibly blessed by the people I have around me to push me into where I am and supporting me all the way. So yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, absolutely fair comment. And as you're speaking there, I can see like a lot of that in myself as well. And it's only kind of now that I've nudged up 14 years of play, I'm kind of like, do I reprioritize? Do I keep pushing at the level I'm at? Like, how do I do some of the other stuff I want to do in life while also playing ball? Yeah.
Having a lot of these questions coming up in my own life at the moment as well, for sure.
Yeah.
You give so much to the sport that you love, and you do get a lot back out of it, but sometimes you just gotta ask, at what point am I going to stop giving everything I have, and am I ready to maybe prioritize myself in other ways that I need.
How do I find that balance if I'm going to keep doing it? Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, I'm going to let you go, because we've been chatting for an hour 45, so that's pretty big. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I look forward to catching up with you again this weekend, and best of luck with that, and best of luck at work and everything with the rest of the season too. But overall, just thank you for being interview number 2 in this series, and hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I absolutely did. Thanks so much for having me on, Hoj. It's great getting a chat to you. It was great seeing you last weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing you again this weekend too.
Let's fucking go.
Love seeing everything you're doing with the podcast, the SendIt stream and all that as well. So keep it up. It's great stuff.
Thank you, bro. So that was my conversation with Ferdia. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, all the usual stuff. If you have anyone in mind who you think would be good to chat to in the run up to work, do drop me a comment as well. I hope to get my third interview out this week, but it might be a struggle timing wise ahead of London Invite this weekend, but I'll do my best. Do make sure to follow me on Twitch too, so you get notifications for when we go live at our SendIt streams with London Invite this weekend. We're going to have a lot of content for you to enjoy in the weeks to come. So if you stuck around this long, thank you, really appreciate it, and I hope you come back for more. See ya.